Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why we go so light on speed work. And a lot of it has to do with recovery, and a lot of it has to do with the fact of what is it we are trying to get from our speed work. And I tend to ascribe more to Matt Winning's view of speed work in that we really should be using weights that not only allow us to hit 1 meter per second, but we sometimes will benefit from going even lighter because of the fact that it is easier on recovery but still gives us the same training response. And I think one of the things that people don't understand with speed work and doing this lightweight compensatory acceleration work, at least even the way Westside did it, is that it beats us up to go super heavy all the time. And I know because I've done 4 day a week or more max effort systems, I've used these things for uh, very, very high frequencies. And what I found is that the strength gains are not any better versus just having, a 2 day a week max effort system. And that's personally what I found experimenting with it. But you could handle less training volume on the recovery end, right? It limited your total volume. And it doesn't so much if we're only doing it twice a week, right? We're going really heavy twice a week. And even then, I think the case can be made for not really the need to go above 90 to 95%. Again, probably why guys like Winning don't get hurt, why they don't get hurt. But what we're looking at is the fact with speed work itself, normally, or dynamic effort work, whichever you choose to call it, what we're doing is we are getting a separate day to where we're coming back and hitting variations of our classic lifts for compensatory acceleration with lighter weights because it doesn't beat us up. But look at the total number of reps we get. So for example, let's say for speed benching you do 9 sets of 3, and speed squats, for example, you do 8 doubles because you're also going to speed pull on that same day. Let's say you do 8 doubles. Okay, we've gotten 16 reps of speed squats. We've gotten 27 reps of speed bench. And the idea is that what you are doing is practicing exerting maximum force. Because we're also producing maximum force on a 1 rep max, and we are hitting all of our upper threshold fibers and everything. But it takes us a certain amount of time to do it. And oftentimes when we're looking at some of the rep schemes for speed work, the idea is to, particularly for moving at 1 meter per second, we are probably getting the same amount of force production time that we get from a 1 rep max. In other words, a max bench probably takes you the same amount of time to perform the concentric as 3 concentric reps on a speed bench, right? A max squat probably takes you about the same amount of time it takes you to do 2 full reps on a speed squat. So we're practicing exerting that same amount of force production explosively that we would get under a 1 rep max. However, we can do it repeatedly. Okay, we can do 8 or 9 sets, in some cases even more, right? We can come in and do a lot of sets without beating ourselves up the same. All right, and now here's the other point. It reinforces the training response of the heavy day. All right, we don't get the same fatigue. We don't get the same level of our body being beat up. It generates a different type of fatigue that has a different recovery system. Right? It generates a different type of fatigue. There's definitely a metabolic fatigue component to speed work, which also gives us more hypertrophy than the max work. It's easier to recover from than the max work. It's harder in the doing. Like, we sometimes feel just dead as soon as we finish. Like, sometimes we want to die at the end of speed work, especially with the really short breaks. Because we can get away with short breaks. We just need the nervous system to reset. We don't need the muscles too, because nothing's being taken to a limit. But we get so much more practice. We get tons of first reps. Okay, this carries over to our maxes. But we do so in a way that allows us to recover. All right, so what's going on with going really light? Again, the winning style, right? Where you might even use even less weight. You might take another 20 or 30% off from what you could technically hit those bar speeds with. Well, we run into an issue of you recover even faster. And we still get the training response. In other words, if you're moving the weight as explosively as possible, particularly if you've got bands or chains, which try to force deceleration. Right? And of course, bands can create a stretch reflex. They can create a myotatic reflex for stretch overload. So in that situation, we're still getting that training response. We're still getting that total time of explosiveness and maximum force exertion. But when we go even lighter, it's easier to recover from. And if we can recover easier, and that's the whole name of the game, because it comes down to how much total training volume can we then do on, say, like supplemental work. What can we do with GPP? What can we do with conditioning? If we recover easier from it because it beats us up even less, but we get the similar training response, we can do more accessory work. Why does that matter? Because accessory work is where we get thicker. This is where we gain our muscle. I'm not saying we don't gain muscle from the other stuff. We gain muscle from the max and the speed work to some extent. But all of our hypertrophy training, it allows us to recover easier so we can get away with more of it. It's just like the same reason of if we take the max workout and only do it twice a week instead of 4 times a week, and we replace it with speed work on the other 2, we can handle more weekly training volume because we're not as beat up. Well, the same applies with the way that we're approaching the speed work. We can do more total volume, we can get bigger. We can get a little more hypertrophy. Well, why does that matter? Because size equals strength potential. Study after study after study after study shows this. Now, most of the top experts will agree. You start looking at top-level strength athletes or top-level powerlifters, their lean body mass relative to height is almost determines how people rank. It will almost tell you what their DOT score is. You can get relatively close with a few genetic and statistical outliers. Okay. So this allows us to maximize our hypertrophy work on top of it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.